Welcome to What's in My Drawers. Jim McCleary at McGolf Custom Clubs, most award certified club maker, club fitter. And this is where we're talking about, well, because I'm an old guy, what's in the drawers, because we are tremendous pack rats. And that's how this has all been started. We've gone through a lot of the historical stuff. We've talked about, repairs and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to continue that tradition. So this is where we talk about golf gear, fitting, repairs, and opinions. So, and as always, we started off with some sort of repair that I've done. And today I'm finishing up some Callaway FTs. Callaway FTs. You guys remember these? They have the little dot on the back. And as I'm coming to find out, when they have this dot on the back, when they say, yeah, it's a real bore through, and it is, but that dot represents the bore through. And what that is it's just a little plastic button. And the shaft doesn't truly bore all the way through like bore throughs on their older models, or you see in Titleist and the other ones. It's just a plastic cap per se. And you see them in Big Berthas and other clubs, maybe even the Steelheads. Anyway, that can be yanked out. And there is no aftermarket part for that one. So if you have a club like this, you want to be very, very careful that you get that back, because yes, you can fill it up, but it won't have that rounded. If you can see how it's rounded, it won't have that. And so this one had a shaft in it that I had to drill out. There we go. They had to drill out. And we got that one out, and now we're putting some new Kurokages in them. So we're going to, and it's funny, it starts at the 7 and goes into the lob wedge, and then we're going to put it in another hybrid. Going forward, tomorrow we did a video on step drilling out a club head and how you guys can remove shafts. And so we talk about how the process goes, what you can do, different tools, the hazards, right? So we can stay safe, that kind of stuff. So you really, 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 really want to pay attention to that one. So that'll be coming out tomorrow at 7. Now, something new. So hopefully in the next, every one of these weeks going forward, at least for a while, we are going to be able to show you something new. And this week is no different. Okay, you single lengthers, here we go. How about this guy? The Wishon EQ1NX. What does all that stand for? I don't have a clue. EQ1NX. So what this is the second gen Sterling single length iron set. And this is, okay, this is the 6 or this is the 6 iron. And this is the 9 iron. Pretty significantly different, right? So what makes this one so much better than the other one? Well, what this is, and you look here, hollow bodies. These are hollow body designs, and it's pretty obvious when you see them because it's pretty thick, right? Now, and there's the other one, and they're hollow body. Now, what he does, and what he did on the Sterling is, and what he's done on this one is, on the 5, 6, and the 7, 4, 5, and 5, 6, and 7, he does what's called a high core iron, meaning that the face rebound on this guy is very, very high. So you get more zip off the ball. And that way you don't have to jack the lofts real bad. Okay. Then when you get down to the 9, and after the 7 or 8-ish and into the 9, they go into the gap wedge right now. The old set actually went into the sand wedge or even the lob wedge. Maybe they'll work on it depending on the acceptance. And what this one is it's a little more solid. The way Mr. Wishon or Tom used to talk about is that he basically dumbed it down. He didn't make it as springy, all right? Didn't make it as springy in order for it to fly like it was supposed to. Now, the other part is the fact that these are hollow bodies, and Mr. Wishon is real big with this, is center of gravities. So he can manipulate this now, can manipulate the center of gravities quite a bit so that, it can be lower and back with the high irons to get it going up and out, where on the lower irons it can come up more up at the face to get more of a penetrating, biting kind of flight, or the way that you would impact the ball, the way that you would typically come in. And there's a lot of advantages on it. Now, the other thing I've noticed that they really haven't said too much on is, you see this here and then here. So he's got a lot of weight. He's got a lot of weight out at the corners, and that's for some stability. So high MOI, high rebound on the top, bigger club. It just looks like a bigger club to me. A little bit bigger face, but the really cool part about this is very little offset. If you look here, very little offset. And that's a good thing, because he, unlike the rest of the industry where they typically would have you at a 7-iron length, he does an 8-iron length. And if you have an 8-iron length, it's much, much easier to control, in his opinion. And in that case, you don't need a lot of offset. So it's a good looking set. So what we do is we get a 6, and then we get a 9, and we shaft them up. And then in part of my fitting, if you're interested in that, what I do is I have you hit them both, just to see if you can create the proper amount of distance gap between the two of them. And if you cannot, then I don't recommend them for you. And it's a bit of a test that I do. Now, I will say this for single length, and in the last couple of these that we always get asked, the single length question comes up is, what is it I think about it and what's happened? And so from my experience in fitting people, most of the folks that come looking for this are ready for single length. We as golfers are very, very traditional, right? We're very traditional in our approach. We like our high lofted clubs short, and we like our low lofted clubs long. And when we get this in our head and we get them that 5, they tend to swing harder. And when they get to the pitching wedge, they tend to swing about the same speed and wonder why it goes further. And so we've got to really just go one swing, one setup, one club. And then just all you're doing is adjusting loft, basically, in order for you to have a more consistent game. The theory behind it is very, very solid. However, it's the distance right here is where most of people have to really, really worry about. And now, and everybody that's been ready to do it were actually pretty good golfers in their own right. And in the first couple of rounds, they've scored better. Now, how they're doing now, I don't know, but they've scored better. And each and every one of them, I've had to bring them off the ledge, so to speak, when it comes to the 5-iron. 6-iron on down, everything's grand. Get that 5-iron, everybody starts grunting. So you got to just keep it smooth, keep it fluid, keep it going, and things work. So a new club out there to try, something to have. Now, last but not least for me coming through is I just got back from a golf trip. Hey, it's been the first one in a while. A group of about 16 of us went to a place called Perry Park, Kentucky. Perry Park, Kentucky. Now, this place has been around since the 70s, and there's some historical Civil War type history with the area, okay? If any of you guys are race car fans or NASCAR fans, it's about 10 miles south of the Kentucky Speedway. It's not very far from where I live. And it has 3 9-hole courses, pro shop, driving range, 2 hotel-like places to stay, and then the package deal that we had, you had breakfast and dinner supplied, and it was very good. It really was. It was just really good. And what you do is you rotate the 3 9-hole courses. So you might start on 2 and 3, and then go 3 and 1, and then 1 and 2, and then just keep going around and around and around until you get there. Now, I will say the only negative I had is that it rained like cats and dogs. It dropped a couple inches of rain, and it was just a soupy mess the first, well, we got there midday for that entire day, and at least half to 3/4 of the following day. It really wasn't unfortunately, till the very last day that the course really showed what it could actually give you, other than a big old sloppy mess. And the greens rolled pretty decent, albeit a little bit slow because I hadn't mowed, but they rolled well. They took a hit well. The fairways were very nice. The rough was horrible because, again, they hadn't mowed. So Perry Park, if you're listening, mow. All right, just mow. But the thing, it's got great views, great looks. And to kind of give you an idea here, we're going to give you some. So this is the street that you drive up into, and what you see over here is the beginning of one of the hotels. And this thing has, I mean, it has a historical flavor to it when you walk in. When you walk in, you go through it. Here's another picture of one of the golf holes. I believe this was a par 5 where you can't see the green. There's a par 4 where you're standing on top of it's 2 levels of a hill going into a par 4, very nice hill course. And this one goes up and over. This one was the first hole, as a matter of fact. At the top here, it goes back into a big old valley, and then there's a green at the top of the hill. And this is what it looked like on the beginning of the second day, about an hour after sunrise. And lastly is what tended to be my favorite hole. I was standing short tee box right where we're standing. It goes back another 40, 50 yards. Anyway, I was able to clear that thing every time I was able to do it and land it right there. So not too bad. Now, it's not extraordinarily long. What would be the whites there were comparable to most places reds or even golds, and the blues were comparable to whites, and they had some blacks and some others. You can get upwards of, I believe it was around 67. So all in all, it was a good time, right? And it's in a dry county. So if you like having a little nip of something on your way, then you better bring it, right? You better bring it. And so that's what we were looking at. And last but not least, guys, happy Labor Day for you guys in the States, right? And Labor Day is a celebration of the working man and all they've contributed to what we have here. It started back in the late 1800s and got accepted right around Grover Cleveland. He was probably part of it, I believe, and got it signed into law so that each day we can go out and have parades and celebrate just basically being a normal individual. So very cool. All righty. So that takes me up to, let's find out what people want to talk about. It says, can you remove the metal shaft section from a stability shaft body? As I understand it, that thing adjusts inside, but I've never heard of anybody taking it out. And if you could, it probably wouldn't be a very good scene. What do you think of the Rogue 130/70X Flex? Lindsay, it is a beast. It's if you're the 130 MSI 70X Flex, all right? So Aldila works on instead of 12 layers, they work on the idea of like 30 layers to get where they need to get. Some people really like that feel, and some people do not. Now, as far as the white and the 130 MSI, that's for somebody who's very, very, very strong. And the 70X, again, everything in this shaft is for very strong. So if you bring the club around really, really well, then yeah, it's a really, really good shaft. Aldila doesn't make junk. Aldila is one of the few companies that is from, we'll call it cradle to grave, from the first scoop of dirt, to the final product, it's all in-house. So they control with the graphite the whole 9 yards. So it's very, very well done. So hopefully that helps you out. Josh, you have a driver and there's a ferrule's risen up on the graphite shaft and I can't move it. Seems stuck. How do you fix it? All right, so if it truly is a graphite shaft, or I'm sorry, if it truly is the ferrule, sometimes when this happens, you want to make sure that it's not the head sliding off. All right, that's number one. So you might check your grip alignment to make sure that it's in line with your head. And that would, if it's not, then that's the first indication that it's not your ferrule being the problem. It is it's your head. All right. Second is in some cases, what you can do, well, what I do, but again, I have the shop, is that if you take like a hair dryer and run it around there for about, I don't know, 20 or 30 seconds, and then try and slide it down. Now, what'll end up happening is it'll eventually want to slide back up. So if it, in turn, you really do get it down there, just 1 or 2 drops of like super glue and push it right back up there, and you should be fine. The hazardous black, by far and away. And I see your lefty. Way to go, bud. That's what I believe. And I think in fact, the way that you've got it here, that's the way that they go. The smoke is a softer, kindler, gentler version of the black, but only by so much. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And there he is. I now have a 44.5-inch driver C weight. What will my shot tendency be? Well, it depends on if you're smooth or not. All right. So everything being equal, if you're hitting in the better spot of the club, chances are you're going to hit it very, very well. The C8, if you're an aggressive swinger, you're probably not going to like it. But for average people, for the average golfer, normal swing weights are D0 to D2 anymore for a driver. Most people can't sense that change of about 2 to 3, most. And so that you can get to that. So in reality, I'm going to say that your shot tendency is going to be tighter and better. Now, if it turns out that you just need a little bit more weight, a little bit of lead tape at the bottom, you should be fine. Jack, welcome back, buddy. San Felipe, is it Felipe, Mexico? Well done, man. Thank you so much. Slidell, there you go, man. Is it hot down there, Henry? I always want to know. I've never been to Louisiana. I always wanted to try to get down there. Of course, everybody goes down there for one reason or another, but never been to Louisiana. I was just talking to my son just before getting on here, and he said that he got a tornado warning, and he was down in the basement with his dog when he was calling me. So hopefully that stuff stays up there. If you look here, I'm going to blow it out here, but watch this. That's what I'm looking at right there. Sun's shining. So I will take that all day. And it's actually very, very comfortable. So we're in pretty good shape. Mr. Paul, how are you, sir? Monday's over, right? All right. Difference between my D7 and the D7 forged. Well, I can show you. Give me a second. Okay. D7. Everybody knows and loves their D7. All right. There it is. And there it is. And then the D7 forged, which is quite popular. Got super good ratings on my Golf Spy. So if we put them together, it's hard to do with, I got the mic right in the way. So here we go. This is the D7 and this is the forged. So the D7 has a much wider sole than the D7 forged. It also has a larger amount of offset. The D7 has more offset than the D7 forged. The face on the D7 is bigger. This is the D7. This is the D7 forged. So it's slightly larger. And the other part is the lofts on the D7 are just slightly weaker, but not by much. I think it might be a degree or two. But that's what they are, Paul. And of course, the face is forged in the D7 forged where it is not in the D7. There you go. There we go. So, I was going to check in to see and see what's going on and see. Maybe we can do that here because I got my golf app going now. And it looks like Dustin Johnson and Xander Schauffele are on 17. And Dustin's at minus 20 and Schauffele's at minus 18 with Thomas at minus 17 and Rom at 16. And Dustin is -1, where Schauffele and Justin Thomas and Rom are at -4 and -3 respectively. So they've got, if they're on 17, they've got 2 holes to pour it on. And we'll see. So hopefully, right? Good afternoon, Mr. Joe, or is it evening out there in Leeds? Thank you for checking in. Good gravy. I think that's great that you guys are looking at all that. Here we go. Michael, how are you, sir? There's my buddy, Matt. Played well past week, even par. Really happy with my game. Good for you, buddy. So as we've talked many times in the past, I went out on that golf trip, and it was funny because I didn't notice it, but apparently everybody else did, that I was basically out. And in my group, I'm the B man, and I think I shot in this particular environment between 83 and 85, and that's with soupy conditions and getting stuck and all this other crap. And but I was out driving every A man that was out there. So, and pretty much everybody else. So the driver was working. Way to go, Maverick, and the Acra shaft. So I was having a day with them, and the putter was working. Just everything in between was just falling flat. But good. Woo-wee. Paul, be careful down there, man. I don't know. I like a little Myrtle Beach like everybody else, but that place has been the source of a lot of COVID sorrow. I just hope they've got it under control by the time you get it down there. So so safe travels and have a great time. That's what we want. Dave's coming from Michigan. I just talked to a guy at our local Rural King, and he is from Michigan. He's in a much smaller town. I think he likes it a little bit better down here. Josh, the answer to that question is yes, if you've been paying attention or watching what we were doing. So throw them at us. Let's see what you got. All right. Robin's got work to do. That's always good. There's my buddy from Sweden. What about all the other fellas? Did they ever get a hold of you after this, or did we just get them all bored? I've got just so you guys know, I got another email from another fella. He says in the Netherlands, and then I have another one from. His name is Vidin Natsvin, and he's in Bulgaria. So I think it's phenomenal. It's pretty great. So hopefully, how's your game today? Let's see how you did. Oregon. There you go. Is there an Wade? So is there any epoxy you can get at a hardware store that will work for reshafting? Specs in the epoxy to look for, etc., for golf works only. Yeah. If you can get the two most widely accepted, well, there's a third. The most widely accepted stuff, obviously, is the stuff you can get at GolfWorks because it's specifically made. But what is it? I mean, really, it is epoxy, and if you can find those specs. However, those specs have the specs in shaft epoxy because It's got to be strong enough to hold it together, but it's still got to be flexible enough to be able to take all that turning and all that slamming and all that other stuff. So it's a little bit different than the stuff like most people try JB weld, and it's a profound failure. Okay, and it's a failure in one of two ways. One, it never sticks, which I don't get, or two, when it does stick, it's on forever, and I mean forever, and it there's no setting, bam bam, and so that becomes problematic at best also. However, there is a 3M component out there called, it's a DP 810. I believe it's DP 810. They come in various colors too. It's a black, a clear, and I believe a brown. And if you can find DP 810 now, keep in mind this, the 3M product is outstanding, and it's widely used on tour. However, it's also much more expensive than just getting the tubes in order to do it. Now, if cost becomes an issue or it's just time for getting it there, GolfWorks does sell little single packets. They look like they come in, they're about the square of what those little things you wash your hands with would come in, just to do one. And you can buy them in that capability, but you'll spend more in shipping than you will in the product, particularly to Oregon. But they have smaller bottles as well. Extra small, medium, large, right? And you can get it from there. But they do have, and they should have it on the website, what the working time. There's three components: working time, the shear strength of it, and then the temperature of which it breaks free. And the temperature which they break free is around between 210 and 240. And that's hence the reason why when you have clubs in your trunk and every once in a while one lets go, because if you have a dark car, your trunk can get to well over, they said 400 degrees. So if you leave it in there for a very, very long time, it's a problem, especially when guys are in there and it's a hot summer day and you pick out your clubs. You're like, wow, these things are warm. It's an indicator not to use them. Wait for them to cool down. You'll probably be all right. But that's where I would look, and they do have those specs. They should have those specs. And if they don't have those specs, you can go to their customer service and they can tell you what they are and search for that equivalent. So gel and cure times, the breaking limit, and then the temperature, which it'll go away. All right. I just lost it. Went all the way to the top. Here we go. There's Brian. There we go. Let's see how you did. Did you have your club champion, or am I asking too fast? Let me read. Shot a 70-day at the local club, which was the last course Don Ross built. Dude, I love those kind of courses. My buddy William got me by 4 shots. Woo-wee. Hopefully that's the guy you got on your pairing that you're doing on your 2-man. Man, that's some serious stuff. Thing I like about the Don Ross stuff is, in most cases, the greens are small. So, and so they can't get you with the trick pin placements. You just aim for the middle of the green, and typically you don't have much more than a 12-footer. But that's the way it goes. All right. Well, that's good. Thank you, though. All right, Dave. Hey, Jim, currently game a 33-inch Odyssey putter. If I purchase a 35 putter, what effects would cutting off have on the putter performance? Probably nothing. Okay, probably nothing. Yes, it has a swing weight kind of component to it, but it's not like you're doing a full swing. All right, this is a putt. So instead of with a driver or an iron or even a wedge, you're very manipulative with the putter, swinging it back and swinging it forward. And basically, if you go out to like the local big box store and you grab a 35-inch putter and choke down 2 inches and then see what it feels like. And that's basically it. Yeah, you have a little bit of weight at the top, but when you go to re-grip it, it's pretty much going to feel about the same. Now, what you could do if you're worried about it, you could get the Super Stroke and they have these weights that you can install on the back, and you can get you a 50 grammer probably, and it might actually feel better. Just depends on what you have. All right. Well, there you go. Joe, thanks for the information. It's amazing what we got a lot of water between us, but uh, there's the similarities are just amazing. Here we go. Warren from England. Thank you guys so much. We got this. I'm getting this UK component over there. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to figure out where you guys are at when we get a chance to come over there. Edinburgh, where you go? Thank you, Phil, for tuning in again. Oh, to ask, how did the tattoo get canceled based on COVID, or did they allow for spacing or whatever? And the festival, what are they doing with that? And we were there, was it last year or the year before? Anyway, it was phenomenal. The tattoo was awesome. It was probably the best, well, as a military display amongst others, with the people from that played we call them fiddles there, but they came and the whole town came out to show. It was great. And then the camaraderie in the stands was just second to none. I haven't seen it anywhere. And then the festival is unique. I'll say that. And it was great. I was just wondering if that was it. So very good. Do you recommend certain shafts and wedges if you're using the hinge and hold method? So if you're taught, you hinge it back and then you just hold on to it all the way through, basically. When you're doing that, it's kind of the same version of dead handing, except for you're holding it back here and you're just holding it all the way through, right? You're not flipping it or anything like that. So in reality, it's just basically, I don't see any real need for any certain special wedge shaft per se, just to make sure that it falls in line with your irons. So if you have 120 gram, the standard 120 gram steel shafts, the wedge shaft typically runs around 130, and that would be fine. I would not go any lower than 120, and the same can be said of the 95s. So when you go 95, maybe something at 105, and just ever so slightly heavier, so that it does have that different feel, and it will promote the different swing that you're putting on it. So just a little bit differently, because you're not going to, with dead handing or the hinge and hold, you're not relying on the kick of the club. You're relying more of the impact and getting it to pop up and then run and do what it's got to do. So that's where I would go with it. Mike Eastridge, what do you say, man? All right, my title is ST2 smoke is D35 with a 16 gram weight. There you go. Oh, that was in response to the other one. Yeah, you put the 16 grammer in there. MJ Doc from Ireland. Well done. Well done, sir. Thank you again for guys from overseas. I know it's late, and I got to tell you thanks. And I'm so happy that you guys are doing it. And we're trying to represent over here. How about that? All right. How did I get into club fitting and building? Well, as the story goes, I was doing a lot of baseball. I was just recently out of the Navy, and I was doing a lot of baseball coaching, and I was doing a lot of woodworking. And we did, for a time, I did what the adult baseball. It was just purely a league, and then a little bit different softball. And time had taken its toll. I was getting too old for that stuff. And these guys were like, well, you can always take up golf. And I was like, well, so we took up golf. And as I was playing, the kids, after I was coaching, I said, well, I'm gonna go play golf. The kids wanted to go. I have two boys. And of course, being the dad, I wanted to take the boys with me. So we went out and got them the typical kid clubs for their age category, and off we went. Unfortunately, with the growing genes that we have in our family, within the first 6 months, they both sprouted up about 6 inches. And so they both needed new clubs. Well, that works real great if they're both right-handed or left-handed. Of course, in my family, one's a righty and one's a lefty, so there is no switching. And somebody I was talking to and I was complaining about it said, hey, you can make those things. Says, you do woodworking, right? Yeah. Well, go figure out how to put them together. I didn't even know you could do it. So off to go, I went into, at the time it was Golf Smith had a 1-day, this is how a golf club goes together kind of course. Put it together, and I was more interested in the machinery than I was the golf club at the time. And they told me about Golf Works. And of course, Golf Smith wanted me to go down to Houston or Austin and do it. But, with Golf Works being about just shy of 2 hours away, I went there and I learned way more about it there. And they had a 7-day club making, club fitting school. And I believe they have something still like it right now. Anyway, so I learned about that, and I learned about what was called the Professional Club Makers Society. It's a very strict group and very tight with their testing, and I learned more in that testing phase than I have in probably most classes. Unfortunately, that group no longer exists, and I was actually the director of education at the time when they decided to close their doors. And then after that, we established the ICG, the International Club Makers Guild, which at the time would have been better fit for club fitters, but it's the same thing. Anyway, started doing that, plus more schools. Anyway, the kids started making it for the kids, made it for myself. A few folks found out about it and asked me if I could help them out. Sure enough, that turned into, I'm of that character. I'm in that character class of once you jump into it, I jump into it with both feet, don't do anything halfway. And next thing you know, my basement looks like a club fitting or actually a club making studio. And then club fitting became a thing. It was right. I fell right into it right about that time frame when launch monitors started becoming a thing. They were still using these accelerometers that you would clip on a shaft and have them swing it, and you could virtually hear it click. And you would see what kind of swing speed they would develop. And True Temper had something that they could clip on shafts, and you were wailing these wires everywhere. Well, then so launch monitors started showing up, and then that just spurred the whole club fitting. And the science behind some of this stuff and the human element it just intrigues me. And so now I graduated from the basement into a garage, and I claimed that I had the nicest club building garage on the planet with wainscoting and green, and it was just nice. Well, then Robin, who worked for a lawyer, he became a judge, and she wasn't interested in being in that environment anymore. And we were looking at maybe moving it because we were doing pretty good, and then moved it out and actually became a business. And as they say, the rest is history. From 2000? Well, I got my license for it in 1999, 2000 range time frame, but we didn't really start getting serious till about 2004. So that's how I did it. Pretty rainy. Yes, Glenn, it is, and it's not fun. Well, up north it is. Down here, it's fine. Ping for G425, Warren. So the number one, Ping does not make junk. Okay, they do not make junk, and I'm not a guy. Holy cow! There goes my dog. There you go. I had to get Robin to open it up and get her. So let's start over. Ping does not make junk. All right. Ping makes very, very good golf gear. And the only thing that you don't see is they're not real flashy. They take things from an engineering point of view, and they let the performance speak for themselves. And if you look at every year since the 400, 410, 425 now, their LST model has always been in contention as one of the longest clubs to hit. Now, like other companies, they have their standard model, an LST, and something along the lines of a Max, which is a draw bias type of club. And then the other one is the LST is low spin for the big hitters or somebody who needs to knock off a lot of spin. And uh, as far as the head goes in this thing, I I don't personally, I think it's a good one. It would be my personal opinion and mine alone that the weakness in the Ping driver is its shaft. It's a proprietary shaft that they must have in their club, and in some cases it can be the detriment to the driver. Now you find one that matches, the thing is a weapon. However, right now you're seeing a lot of press on it. I like the look of it. They've never been an ugly club, so yeah, I see it coming out. I see it being a forerunner uh, to the top three that have always been competing right now, as far as in the distance category, has been the Maverick or the Callaway component, whatever that might be, the Ping component, whatever that might be, and then the Cobra component of the F9. Those have been always in the top three categories. Now, distance may not be your thing, and control might. In which case, in a lot of cases, the Ping and the Maverick win the day. Sometimes the Cobra slides and gives way to a Titleist club. And the only reason why Wilson's not truly mentioned is because of popularity. But and of course they all fall within about 4 to 5 yards of each other. So, but yeah, there's nothing wrong with a Ping. There's T-Town Needs in Toledo, Ohio. Very good, buddy. Thank you for tuning in on this one. Well, Eugene, thanks, buddy. Well, we're coming up, man. If you got the one thing I'm just really excited about is Mizuno's letting go of a left-handed in the forge category. That ought to be unique. I'm kind of excited to see them actually getting getting on the train, and the fact that they're making a gap wedge to fit the set. So they're finally seeing that they're not selling as many 3 and 4 irons as they had in the past, and now they need to find a gap wedge, and I'm glad they're seeing it. Me too, Glenn. I do like the look. It's really not a far cry from the 919. It's not the toe is not as pronounced as it is in the 919. It's just not as pronounced. But some of the cosmetics are very, very good, and I just like the way that they've looked at it. Very good, Dwayne. He's checking in from Facebook. Well done. Dude, I could have used you down there because I felt like my iron game just totally left me, and I had to start doing the walking backwards drill, and everybody's looking at me like I had a sock sticking out of my head or something. It was it was pretty funny. But I just had to remember to keep the club in front of me. Once I did that, it started coming back. I actually started hitting distances I was supposed to hit and everything. All right, it's a final, guys. Dustin Johnson won the Tour Championship at -21, shooting a final score or a round of -2 for the day. Xander Schauffele and Justin Thomas tied for second. They shot around a -4 for a total of -18 today. I mean, that's pretty good considering where they're playing. John Rahm came in fourth at -17, and he shot -4. Scotty Scheffler shot a -5 for -14. And then Colin Morikawa came in sixth, -13. Finishing up the top 10 is Terrell Hatton, Rory McIlroy at -11 or 12 and 11, Sebastian Munoz, Patrick Reed, Sunjay M, Harris English, and Webb Simpson get you into 12. So there it is, guys. Now you know. All right. All right, Tyler. Quick question on grips. I average about 15 to 20 rounds every summer. How often should I replace the grips? I haven't changed them since I got them 5 years ago. Well, if you're only paying 15 to 20 times a year, basically, that's not a whole lot of usage. Okay. So if you keep them clean, they could last you pretty much those 5 years that you've got. What you want to do is get them cleaned up real good. I've shown folks on some videos on how to clean, and take a look at that. And then what you want to do is take a look at your grip. If it's cracking, I call it alligator skin, but if it looks like old skin or it's cracking, it's time for them to go because they're not giving you the texture that you need or the grip that you need. If you also see wear marks, right, where you put your thumb on the grip, you see wear marks on those or where your fingers might be, it's time for them to go. And then once you get that, now if it doesn't, then no sweat, clean them and play them and have at it. And I've had folks that have, they've gone this way and they don't play a lot, right? And it's good. But if they're showing signs of wear and you do like to golf over the summer, then they do look worn, then it is time because your grip will improve, your swing will be easier, and you'll actually probably shoot a lower score. New Haven. 40 minutes north of downtown Detroit. Well, I'm not an expert, buddy, but be safe. Chris, thank you so very much. I got to get back to the top here. Where'd I go? Oh, here we go. To reduce spin, how can I tweak my current driver head Maverick Standard instead of buying one of those low spin drivers? I also use the AVX ball. All right, Eugene. So lead tape. And I would show you, I don't have a Maverick in front of me, but if you run lead tape parallel with the face about this far back, because it's a cup face. So you want to be about 1/4 inch back and run a strip or two of lead tape the length of it where it doesn't look real bad. And that should be fine. Yes, they are, Glenn. I am a true fan. And there you go. We just talked about that. Awesome. Yep. Jim Allen from Philadelphia, Ohio. How you doing, bud? I play Razor X4s irons. Would it be worth to get it adjusted for length and lie, or should I pony up for new technology? Yeah. All right. So you're a few generations out. All right. So the question is, if you're hitting them fine and you're getting the performance that you like, then yeah, adjust them. And if you've had them for a while, adjust them for a little bit of length and lie and be fine. However, it depends on what it is that you're looking for. There are players irons out there. There's player distance irons out there. The way that they are moving it from the Razor, because the Razor was basically the last vestige of what we would call the normal iron, and everything else is just higher tech from there. So if you're asking me, I'm saying you're probably going to really like new irons, particularly if you get them fitted to you, right? Get them fit. And if nothing else, go get fit. And then that way you know what you need. It may not be another Callaway product. It may be something else. However, whatever it is, that money is well spent so that you're spending the right money on the right stuff until the next time you want something. How would I go about extending a putter shaft a couple inches? I've never done club work except for replacing grips. All right, so what it is, you call up Golf Works. They have these shaft extensions, and they're metal shaft extensions for metal, and they have graphite or the plastic for graphite, and that way you don't have this weight disparity. And you're going to have to tell them what kind of putter you have, and then you're going to have to, and that way they can get you the right diameter so it'll fit in there properly. Then you rough up the shoulder area, put some epoxy on it, set it in there, and then cut it to your length that you want. And you're back to regripping. All right, me too. Hello from Buffalo. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for coming in. Uh-oh, we got a couple of guys right there. It's a short course. There you go. I feel that's what I was looking at when we were at that Perry Park, Kentucky. It was beautiful, but it's kind of the same thing. You get out, you get left or right. I mean, there was room to be sure, but you get going out there, man. You're under a tree in a uneven thing. It was really something else. About an hour from London, Warren. Well done. There was a lady that I know that was a club maker, and she taught me tons. And she was a very super nice lady. And her name, or she lived in a place called Cheltenham. Hopefully I'm not murdering it. Cheltenham, and it was near a coast. I believe it was in the south. I'm purely guessing, but she was quite unique. She had a master's or a doctorate in biology, and went and turned into club making and club fitting, and she was just very, very good at it. And she bought. There was family had some property in the area. She ended up buying a greenhouse and then making a fitting in a studio of it. And I talked to her one day and I said, you suppose somebody that hits a round projectile like that, if that's really smart to be in a greenhouse? And she started laughing. Says, yeah, there's a lot of caging going on in there. So that was pretty cool. Very, very nice. Here we go. Checking in. How you doing, man? Diamond Run Golf Club. Where's that? Damn Yips came back. Oh, no. No. We don't like that word. The S word, no. We don't do the S word. Deep breath, spin around 4 times, jump up and down twice, and then they should go away. Joe, recently started playing up New Year layoff due to back injury, but have a slice with the driver and irons are going figure fine. So in a lot of cases, Joe, when that happens, a couple of things. It can be weight transfer. It also can be the club is just too long. All right. And it depends on if it's just an out and going over type of slice or if it's just a push slice. And try choking down about 1 inch if it's a standard driver, and seeing if that doesn't help. And then whatever you do not try and loft it off the tee. When you loft it off the tee, it tends to make hands open, and it's never good that way. But try that. 29 Palms, California. Christopher, my son lives out in San Jose, and all I see is all these pictures. Everything's on fire. Hopefully you are not in the way. Be safe, guys. Boston. Hey, look at that. Thank you, sir. Or ma'am. I'm looking to upgrade my Cobra Baffler XL irons. Any suggestions? Irons should try at my club fitting. Well, if you like the Baffler, the Baffler, Cobra doesn't get enough credit and they're the ones that had the Baffler, which had the rails on the bottom and the whole 9 yards. And they're actually really good irons. If you want to stay in that neck of the woods, right? In that neck of the woods, then there's a handful, right? You can try the Mizuno hot metal iron. You can try the Maverick Max. Now these are all things that help you not slice, right? But they have wide soles, and I'm kind of thinking in the wide sole category. If you like staying in the Baffler big longer irons, then you can try the Wilson has launch pads, very wide sole. Holy smokes, are they ever? or the Forge D7s, or not Forge D7s. They're more players like. You can go that direction if you wish. If it's more players like, then maybe the HMBs from Mizuno, or the Pro models from Callaway, or even New Level. If the fitter's got New Level, have him put you in a mod B, and see what that does, and you probably enjoy those. But those are just things. Those are categories, and hopefully the fitter tells you what category you're in, and then that way you can make that selection. Look at this, Chris. Thank you, sir. Thank you for all that. You are officially the very first person to contribute. I appreciate it. All right. Why adding 5 grams if they follow my driver towards the front has changed my drive so much better? Please let me know. All right. So 5 grams is almost 3 swing weights when it comes to a driver. And it's probably something noticeable. And just like we were talking about Eugene, the left-handed guy, it also takes a lot of spin off. So if you're having troubles with that, where it goes up and it goes down and it dies, it probably took a lot of spin off. The other part is that when you're bringing it back and you're in your transition and you're back here and you go, oh, here's my golf club, and then you know where it's at and you can bring it back. And it's just that easy. It's amazing what a little bit of a tweak. And when we find out, guys, and hopefully gals are watching, that golf in a lot of cases can be tweaked into spots. I've run into situations where clubs were just nowhere close to what that person needed. However, you can always make something try to work, and just tweaks, not wholesale changes, tweaks. There you go. Addicting, Dave. That is the key term there, right? Addicted. Matthew, would Ping I2 still worth it if you're just a weekend warrior, just 2 times to 3 times? Yes. Yeah. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the Ping I2. Now, what you want to do is you want to keep an eye on the condition. The weak point now, because of its age, is going to be the shafts. The JZs and the lights and all the ones that they have, they tend to you'll see rust spots starting to develop. And that's a sign of weakness for those clubs. It's just like if you had it on your car bumper, you know that it's going to rust through and it makes it weaker. And so you want to keep an eye on that. And if you're just a couple of times a month or doing that, and it's not something the real key here is it is a priority for you. Right? If you're running around chasing kids going to softball and baseball games, that's a priority, right? And you play with what you brought, and that's just what it is. Now, are there clubs that are better out there to help your golf game improve? The answer to that is also yes. You could also get that in there, and they could last you just as long as old as these Ping I2s are. Again, just like we were talking about the grips earlier, check for the grips, make sure they're in good shape so that you can, enjoy playing them. But the Ping especially the Ping I2s, are just a hugely popular iron. I average 3 to 4 sets a year that come through here for something, a reshaft from something breaking or regripping or something along that lines. So yeah, and particularly if you have the beryllium coppers and if you have all the way down, that set still holds its value. If you're really looking for something a little more modern, you could probably get quite a fancy price off of that, and not have it hurt your pocketbook so much when you go buy new ones. Well, typically, just if you're really, now the best shafts for controlling distance, okay. The best shaft is the one that's cut to the right length. That's number one. If you don't have the right length, you can't have control and you can't have distance. That's the plain and simple fact. To the point when we do our fittings, we measure length first in order to get that right length into your hands first for consistency's sake, because length is directly proportional. The length of the golf club, not the length of your hit, length of the golf club is directly proportional to the quality or the control that you have. Now, when you have better control, typically your distance comes right in there behind it. And what it is, it's depending on, if you're an aggressive swinger or a smoother swinger, and that would take on total weight, right? Heavier or lighter. The old myth of, and it's not necessarily a myth, but if you wanted to keep it into the fairway but not go very far, you got something stiffer and heavier. If you wanted something to go further and fly better, it would be something more flexible, but yet it was at the cost of control. And so what you're looking for is the happy medium for both, but the right length, and then something that matches your swing speed and the way that you deliver the club to the ball. And then you're in. Lombard is in the house. What do you say, Jack? Very cool, Taylor. Very cool. I'm glad to hear it. I am certainly glad that we're impacting some folks. If all works out very well, I was talking with Mondaire. He's the guy that owns the golf mechanics, and we're looking at a different frequency machine. And if it works out very, very well, it could be some very good stuff for you guys. We'll see. We're working on it. But he's an absolute card. And again, going back to Washawn, if you guys like reading, there's been 2 books released as of late, and one of them is Ralph Maltby, and basically it's golf. It's not golf his way, but his life in golf. And it talks about how he got started in the industry and all the way up to his retirement. And it was an excellent read. And now I have Mr. Washawn's book, The Captain Clubmaker, and it says why he got that title. And he's reading it, and I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. And the things that they see, and I relate to these guys because I like history of golf, but I've known these guys for going on, I don't know, 15 years now. And I get to see, and I get to pick up at about halfway through the book, and I go, yeah, I know that. And I keep following up. So it's very, very cool to see that. And those are the guys that really got me going. So I'm glad to see that we're impacting more folks. So not too bad. Yeah, Dustin was on a hot streak. Holy cow. He was nuking it, and he just blew away the field. Then what was it the one before, the one after that, just very, very good. And I'm glad to see him getting back into it. He was struggling there for a while. Brock, what do we got? What's the difference? Is there a difference between OEM and aftermarket shafts? As big a deal with steel shafts, so graphite driver. All right, so let me interpret this a little bit. So number one, is there a difference between the OEM shafts and the aftermarket shafts? And the answer is yes. All right, and it depends on the OEM. All right. Now I do know for a fact, like Wilson, they put in the real shaft, so there is no OEM aftermarket competition. It is the exact same shaft. There are other companies which pretty much all the rest, except for Ping, because Ping does their own, that the shaft, and Mizuno may not either because their shaft selection is just so big, but the rest of them may have what they call proprietary shafts from those companies in the same paint scheme. And no, they are nowhere near different. The worst violator of it was Nike. They are the absolute worst. But the rest of them have different setups. So yeah, and can they be a big deal? Again, with everything in golf, it depends, right? If the stock shaft works, just like Jim Furyk won his championship with a $39 Yes putter. Did it have to be aftermarket and all fancy? No, but it worked and it fit. If you get a stock shaft and it works and it fits, then fine. However, in my case, that wasn't the case, and I had to go with an Acura FX. It's well, if I click off of here for a second, it's down in this neck of the woods. These guys back here, okay, and I put it in there, and it turned the club into a rocket ship. So it was a matter of getting the right one. Now, with steel iron shafts and with steel shafts, there's not much of that kind of a change. There's not as much changing as you can do. But do they have aftermarkets? Not necessarily. Now, some will have some proprietary shafts made for them. However, for the most part, I'm not aware where they have something else. However, is not to say it doesn't happen, but for the most part, for the cost of steel, it's just not worth doing all of that stuff. That's the reason why. As far as the last part is why don't OEM ship components so builders can build? It honestly, the biggest factor, it's an insurance issue, right? I do it. I get OEMs, but it's a task. Now, keep in mind, I've been doing this for quite some time, and I still struggle with OEMs being able to do this. I have to there's a lot of work that's involved from a business standpoint, not necessarily I just want to build club standpoint, because let's just say one day you had a bad day putting them together and you hit one and the head goes flying and goes crashing through a windshield or hits a person in the head. Of course, stand-up guy, you're probably going to be take care of it, but now all of a sudden they have an opportunity to chase the OEM. So there's a lot involved with that, and that's the reason why. So which kind of makes it, not to be patting myself on the back or anything, but that's what makes it special for some folks to be able to get these things, because we have proven track records, we have the business capabilities, and we also have all the other stuff that they have to see in order to make it go. And that's why, right? And that's why. And because I am right, Brock, I am with you on this one. I was like, why can't I get this? And as it turns out, that when I finally figured it out, that's why. And to date, I'm pretty good with most folks, except for Ping. And it's just because Ping they like being very much in control of their stuff. It's not good, bad, or in between. It's just the way that they do business. And that's what it is. Here we go. Georgia, Small Greens, have an old Don Ross course here in the 20s. Yeah. Yeah, and he always did that, right? They were always like that. And they're like, oh. But man, you gotta love the courses that have all those characters, and they got trees that are big as houses on them in some cases. It's just awesome. Okay, Caleb, well to go, man. I'm glad it happened. 983K. That's what we want to see. Christopher, sounds surrounded by the fires. Oh, but a 20-mile buffer for now. Recently sold my Keller X Series and went old school playing a set of Hogan medallions. That is old school. If you go back, the Hogan, not the medallions. The medallions are a little newer. I did I cleaned up a set of edges, the Hogan blades, and oh my God, they were something else. Oh, is it getting time? Okay. So anyways, found around by the fires, dude. Be careful. 20 miles is not nearly enough as far as I'm concerned. All righty. Chris, again, thank you so very much. I'm going to skip down here. It says, put it in the front, in the middle. 42-inch driver. Well, if you're hitting it really, really good, I don't know about changing it unless you're really, really short. But 44 to 44 and a half are some of the most common lengths of a driver. You very well may end up just hitting, you very much hit it better, right? You very much hit better. And again, Chris, thank you for that, right? Thank you so much for that one. All right, guys, I'm 9 minutes over. I'm going to click on a few here, and we'll see. ISO T. Well, hopefully, and that very well may help you out as well, Chris. Yes, those things are good. Just don't polish on them, otherwise you get borreliosis. All right, ping offers shaft. Yes, yes, they do. They do offer shaft upgrades as part of the fitting process. Paul, thank you. I got to too. All right, guys. Again, all over. If we take again, Sweden, the UK, Ireland, all of that stuff, Scotland. I mean, phenomenal. Mexico, from both the coasts, Boston, Oregon, guys. Thank you. Right. Thanks for watching, and come to visit us again. Oh. I got, you spilled it on my computer. Sorry. So again, guys, thank you so very much. And as always, let's see the scores go low.